Hello, welcome to Planet Cinema, with your hosts, me, Luke, and...
myself, Joe/Joseph, whatever you want it to be. I don't know.
You're in for a lot of this.
This is just improvised on the spot. Right.
So me and Joe, you might have known from videos that I've done on my other channel, which if you want to check it out, not that I'm ferrying around after subscribers. I'm not promoting nothing. Called Flaming Furious. We do certain videos. We've only done 2, but they have been lengthy, and we do cover a very broad area. So we've done talking about the kaiju monsters that might appear, Godzilla King of the Monsters. We've also talked about what the possible outcomes could have been for Avengers Infinity War. So we've done broad topics like that. This is what this channel's going to be. We're going to cover a new video. We're going to do 1 video a month because obviously me and Joe are quite busy people. So we've got actually GCSEs coming up, and obviously we're going to have to be preparing for those as well. And we've got other things going on in our lives. We might be on holiday or something like that. So just to make it easier, we've done 12 videos a year, 1 a month on a different topic, and we think as long as the videos are lengthy, that'll work.
Excellent.
So okay, well now we've sort of what the channel's all about with different areas of film. Today's video is going to be on films you might not have heard of, we think are pretty good.
Yeah, so it's just kind of introductions to some of the films that we like, sort of things that we watch. You know, our films are very different. Luke's are more horror-centred.
Yes, because obviously I might seem biased. Trust me, I've made it as unbiased as possible. But because I am a horror geek, I've been told constantly, I have a lot of memorabilia and all I watch are these sort of things. So you will see a common trend in these videos if we do these sort of things. Joe has, obviously, he watches a lot more films in different areas than I would. So basically, Joe would have a better sort of pick for his. But we've got 10 films here, and what we're going to do is go in order from 10 being worst to 1 being best. None of these films are bad. We've all picked them because we like them, we think they're good, but just as an order of recommendation, so which order you watch them and things like that. Alright, so I guess we've summed it up now. So
that'll be 5 from Luke, 5 from me.
Yes.
See if you can guess which is which. I don't know.
It'll be pretty easy. Okay, so...
Mine are really critic-baity.
Alright, so let's get into the video.
Now, busting rocks, still a little gippy from what they say. Fella by the name of Shively, unless I misremember, said his pappy was.
Right. Coming in at number 10, we have, and I'm probably going to say this wrong, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Yes, Ballad of Buster Scruggs. So this is out on Netflix at the moment, so you can, if you've got Netflix, you can see it. I'd very much recommend you see it. It's written by the Coen brothers, based on some short stories they did 20 or so years ago. It's a western. It's very dark, very gritty. It's directed by the Coens as well, so you know that it's going to be a smart, visually striking, themey film. Themey isn't a word. Use it anyway. So it's a unique film. It's made up of 6 individual stories, which I'm now going to try, without the help of my notes, to name.
I'll need them.
Here we go, right. So, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, Near Algodones, Meal Ticket, All Gold Canyon, The Girl That Got Rattled, and The Mortal Remains, and I've done it, Luke. Didn't even need the notes.
Let's just go and give ourselves
everyone
give yourself a
themselves
hand slap.
Pat on the back.
Give yourself a hand slap, guys.
We were completely at odds with that, weren't we?
I love doing that. Alright, okay. I obviously don't know as much as Joe about this film, but I was able to just look into it a bit, and I've got some areas of which I'm going to have to use Joe's, but I've got one of my own that I have found out. I have got it on my phone, so forgive me. So what I do gather is this film's been rather successful in its time of release, and the film has premiered at the 75th Venice International Film Festival, which was on August 31st, 2018. So that was the year that's just gone, so pretty recent actually, where it won the Golden Alyssa Award for the Best Screenplay.
Even I didn't know that, but there you go. Right, so getting into why I like the film. So the stories differ really greatly in tone. So you'll have some stories which are humorous, you know, I'm a rootin' cowboy kind of thing. Some stories will be very emotional, very sad, and some stories will be just dark and grim. The Coen Brothers, they do very, you know, they do black comedy, which is essentially just very dark, and it's just, sometimes it's just sickly dark, but it sort of works, you know, it sort of endears you to it. The stories, they're not linked, they're separate stories, and they're all based on the short stories, as I said, from written by the Coens 20 years ago. So it's dark, it's brutal, it's western, it's snappy dialogue, and the dialogue's really what keeps you interested, because it's a long film. It looks great, cinematography's great. The stories, most of them work, some work better than others, I'd say. The last one's a little bit talky, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
The Mortal Remains, and they're, as I say, they're very thematically driven, you know. Each one has a theme. You just got to delve into it and see what you can get out of it. And it won't be everyone's cup of tea, because as I said, it's a long film. It's not what I call an action-heavy film. It's what I would call a story and dialogue-driven film. And the stories are very different. Again, if you want consistency, if you want to get to know characters, this isn't necessarily the film from my picks that you should choose. But I personally enjoyed it. It's the performances are great. It's got an ensemble cast: James Franco, Tim Blake Nelson, Zoe Kazan. That's the thing I said. Tom Waits. Tom Waits, that's a name I can say, isn't it? Liam Neeson, who in this one, ironically, does have a very particular set of skills, but not the ones you pick. Such as,
we all like a bit of Liam Neeson.
Such as collecting money for a very sad story. It's a very sad story, Luke. It's just,
well, I couldn't have put it better myself. So Joe has explained it as best we possibly can. You should definitely go check it out. Obviously, like I said at the beginning, this is in the order of recommendation of which we watch these films, but that's why Ballad of Buster Scruggs. If I could,
I know
it's a different
sort
of
of name. They should have gone through another one, like Meal Ticket. That doesn't really have the same ring to it.
But at least I could say
be
it
about anything, couldn't it?
But that's why this film is on number 10 of this list.
Yeah, there we go.
Obviously, this isn't meant to be part of the video. We didn't realise, because we don't have like a full length tripod, because they do cost a lot of money.
We're poor people.
So you will have noticed in that first clip that we did with the first film, our heads weren't exactly in the shot, so we apologise for that. We did try something here because we wanted to get the right level, but the way we see it, it's better to be slightly higher than to be too low. So the way we've sorted it out is now we're going to be filming at this height, so we apologise for that, and well, let's move on. So back with the new camera. Okay, so next on this list, taking a spot at number 9, is Real Steel. So let me gather my notes on this, because I do quite like this film. Where is it? Okay. So obviously, Real Steel includes the one and only Hugh Jackman, who has featured, as a lot of you people know him as Wolverine. I know, so Joe certainly knows him as Wolverine. I haven't seen Logan, but I have seen the other Wolverine films, so, you know, I have seen them, I know what he's like, but I will say this, he's very good in this film. It also is kind of like, well, if you've ever seen these films, a lot of them typically come from like horse racing, things like that. You see that they go up, they train, they get better, they have hardships along the way. It's one of those sort of stories, and to be honest, it really does work for me. It includes obviously heavy references to Joe's Rocky and RoboCop, which was the opposite, well, I wouldn't say opposite, but it's a similar film series to The Terminator, although I perceive Terminator to be slightly better than that. But
Well, not Terminator Genesis, I don't know.
Right, okay. We're not getting into this. We might do a whole video on this, but not now.
Terminator Genesis
Right,
is just...
right, okay, right. That comment's just been deleted.
How dare you? That's not very nice.
Right, so another comment I'd like to make on this is it actually, there's a lot of background areas that this film's drawn upon, like for instance, because it's a very much influenced by boxing, because Real Steel is robot boxing, because the whole overlook of the film was that it was considered too dangerous for people to be fighting, and in like a very futuristic American society, they had decided they take the people out of the ring and they make machines to fill in the spot and still provide entertainment. So that's what the film has been about. He starts off as like a failing sort of backstreet fighter, so he does like small venues and things like that, and he starts as a failing sort of robot boxer. He also has to try and fix his relationship with his son, which he's not very respectful to, because he sells him for an awful lot of money to his wife's sister, which is a bit strange. But it wasn't the son himself he was selling, it was his parental rights in court. But then again, you know, it's a very odd sort of relationship, but...
spoilers down, Luke.
I'll believe that, I'll put spoilers in the
Spoilers.
But, so he ends up winning fights after a while, and then he climbs his way up, so I won't say any more on that, but that's a general overlook. So because it's very influenced by boxing, and the fact that his character used to be a boxer, because that's what he draws upon in that film. So boxing legend, a lot of you boxing fans will know that, Sugar Ray Leonard. He was hired as the film's boxing consultant, and his job was to train Hugh Jackman for his appearance in the ring, which is very monumentous, to be honest, because these sort of boxing stars and things like that, they don't normally come into this sort of element, because as Joe was saying to me earlier, it's easier for an actor to box than it is a boxer to act. So it was very special there. Last point I'd make on this was that they actually built full-scale robots for this film, which obviously not like they were in the film where they were actually boxing in the ring, but just the ones that stand there and things like that, these props. They built full-scale robots. They used cutting-edge motion capture to make the movement of the boxers mirror that of the robots in the ring. So they actually streamed these through the camera in an empty ring, and when they were filming, it actually looked like the robots were in there, which must have been pretty cool for the cameraman. But anyway,
well, I've got down in my notes they got Oscar nominated for visual effects.
Yeah.
Which it lost out to Hugo, which I haven't seen. I will probably never see, but I might see this. You know, I've also got down that got mixed reviews from critics. It says this is just general critical consensus that it's formulaic, unresolved plot aspects, but apparently it's got, well, obviously great visual effects.
Yeah.
Great cast and great action. Sorry, I can't speak. I apologise. And it looks like the cast is really good. You know, you've got Hugh Jackman, Evangeline Lilly, who is Wasp, Batman and the Wasp, Anthony Mackie, the Falcon.
So yes, it's basically, it's got big personalities in this one, because they're showing different relationships in the film. Like Hugh Jackman is a failing boxer, he's trying to fix it with his son. That's the main focus, but he also has different relationships with other people. Like, for instance, let me read because I can't remember. Alright, there we go. Evangeline Lilly, right? She actually is the girlfriend of him in this film. However, they're a bit, they got off to a sort of a rough start, because obviously his workshop is her father's old gym. So where they used to train him to box, her father used to train his character called Charlie in the film to be the boxer he was. So it's, as he went into the robot industry after he wasn't doing the actual fighting, it kind of dwelled on him. So it's an interesting sort of role for her to be in. Anthony Mackie, I think he's one of my favourite roles in the film other than Hugh Jackman, to be honest, because he's kind of like the ring announcer on this mainstream kind of like robot boxing sort of centre that they would have in the film. So he'd be laying bets, obviously the Gents would be getting cocky with their robots, and he would be the one to bring about that. So he's a rather humorous character in places, but he could also be really blunt serious. I really do like the casting for this. Alright, so that is why Real Steel takes spot number 9 on this list.
Good for you. Fuck it. We'll make a comeback. They're waiting for something huge. We'll give it to them. Shave off that pathetic goatee. Get some surgery.
Okay, next up on this list at number 8 is Birdman, so I'll let Joe take this one.
Okay, so the film's called Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, if you're going to go for its full title, which it's an odd title, you gotta say, but there you go. It's an odd film. So it's directed by Alejandro G. Iñárritu, who's a director of many great films, which I think he's a heavily decorated director in terms of awards. He also wrote the screenplay and he produced. It's got an excellent ensemble cast: Michael Keaton, Emma Stone, Zach Galifianakis. I probably said his name wrong, but I cannot say his name. Zach G. And everyone's favourite, nice actor, Edward Norton. So it's a black comedy / drama, I'd say. The comedy might not be for everyone in this film, but even if it isn't, it's quite dark and it's quite sort of on the nose. Even if it isn't, there's lots of drama here, and it's a very dramatic film. What's really interesting is the way it's shot, because it's shot as though it looks like it's one take. Yeah, you know, like a one-take sequence.
Yeah.
They did some stuff on that in Daredevil, but for short action scenes. But the entire film is made to look like it's in one take, so it's almost like theatre in some ways.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because the plot centres around a play. You know, Michael Keaton's character, he's a failed sort of actor. He used to be a superhero. Ironic, because Michael Keaton used to be a superhero. He used to be Batman.
You see a common trend in these films, guys.
He used to be a superhero called Birdman. That's why it's called Birdman. He's trying to make his comeback with a stage play, and he's acting, he's writing, he's directing. The plot follows him as he sort of it's an investigation into his psyche. You know, it's less action. Well, there's no action in it really. I think there's some nice little dream sequences, or maybe they're not dream sequences. It's open to interpretation, this film, Luke. It's got sequences where you think, what? Was that real? Or was that not real? What's he thinking? And it really casts light onto the drama of what happens behind the scenes as well.
Yeah.
There's the dialogue snappy, it's witty, the framing's great. Great isn't a word, is it?
Wait.
Wait. The framing is great. I was about to say. No, the framing's great. I still can't say it.
It just reminds me of something. When we were doing on the other channel, that Godzilla thing, I didn't do it in the end because I wanted to go for something serious, but obviously we mixed up our words a bit and we came up with a title. We didn't use it in the end, but it was going to be something really special. We were going to call it The Flavour of Godzilla.
I'm not even sure how that came about.
I don't know. I just stumbled on the words.
No one understands.
Back on target.
I'm just going to look for it. The score's amazing, it adds tempo to the whole thing, and it might not be everyone's cup of tea again because it's a talky film. It's also a dramatic film. It's not an action film. It's not necessarily an in-your-face, laugh-out-loud comedy film either. But it's got terrific emotional performances, especially from Keaton. I think Michael Keaton probably should have won an Oscar for this. I don't think he did, but even though this won loads of Oscars upon its release, along with another film on my list, which was released in the same year, which we'll come back to later.
We will.
But it takes you to so many emotional extremes, and it's thematically poignant. You've got to search for the themes in there, but there are a lot. And there's a lot of really well done scenes, really well shot scenes. There's this one scene which I always remember where, I'm not going to tell you how it comes about, but Michael Keaton, and this is something he genuinely filmed within, you know, outside in a city.
Yeah.
He walks from, he comes out the theatre in his pants,
What?
and they track him, and it's done for real. You know, it's not like they've done it in front of a green screen. He's walking through, getting genuine reactions from people, and still in the one take sequence. It's not actually shot in one take. You know, it's just made to look that way.
Yeah.
But I genuinely recommend it if you want a more thought-provoking film, one that doesn't necessarily move at as great a pace, but it's got excellent performances. Emma Stone is great. Edward Norton gets to play Edward Norton.
Oh wow!
Where he plays an actor who's difficult to work with.
Well, that's odd with him, isn't it?
Incredible Hulk, maybe. Yeah.
So I will also say one point. I mean, obviously, again, don't have much on this one, but I do seem to know that it was successful for when it was made. Obviously, because as Joe said, it was nominated and things like that. So, released in 2014, I think we've won on that. It won 4 Academy Awards, including that for the Best Picture. So, just overall, just a general consensus, really. This is from a website, this isn't my view, obviously, but it's a complex, quirky movie. It's hailed as a masterpiece by many critics, so it's a critic favourite, though some viewers might have found it pretentious and puzzling.
Yes, well, I kind of agree with that. For mainstream audiences, audiences that watch, let's say they go to the cinema 3 times a year and they watch an action movie, a superhero movie, and an animated movie, they probably wouldn't like it because it's long.
Yeah.
Again, all Bud movies are long except one of them, which is ironically my number 1 pick. And it's very eccentrically made. Because it's all in one shot, you never kind of get a break from being in these actors' personal space. And again, there's so many themes, and it's so dark. A lot of my ones are black comedies, or at least they're dark, I'd recommend it though. If you want a really different cinematic experience, or not cinematic, just on your TV, on your iPad, on your phone, on your DS. You can't get films on your DS.
I'm now going to do something for you. I'm going to do an automated voice impression, right, of that advertisement you get on Select for 20th Century Fox DVDs. This movie comes with a digital cabinet placed everywhere.
Yes, you can watch Birdman in your trousers on your bed, I don't know.
With a bowl of cereal at 6 p.m.
Yes, you can watch it. You can watch it at 3 o'clock in the morning if you'd like. But here's what
and
I'd
that'll
say.
take you right up to 7.
I don't know how many people want to watch Birdman at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I told you I wouldn't, but Okay, so that is why Birdman takes the next spot on this list. Okay, so taking the next spot on this list is The Wolfman. Now, let me get it clear here. This is the 2010 version. I don't always see things this way because of having a lot of conversations with Joe about these things, and the way I'm seeing it, the way it works with some horror franchises is it's normally 3 would be the unlucky number in terms of a film series. But remakes, typically, they get a negative look upon because they're saying, well, they're just remaking something again. But this one worked. This one actually did work. So it was made in 2010, and to be honest, it stars a relatively well-known anyway, cast.
Everyone knows who Benicio del Toro
Yes.
and Anthony Hopkins
So,
are, I would say, probably.
So obviously the main focuses for this film is the Talbot pair, so it's the father, the son, and his dead brother's widow now. They obviously are the main focus for this film in general. So you've got the head of house, which is played by Anthony Hopkins, who has a dark past though, which is yet to be revealed. And obviously Benicio del Toro then carries, I'm not going to say how, but he then carries what they say in the old black and white films, which is where this came from actually. So this is a Hammer horror, and Hammer was one of the first ever sort of legions of horror, if you like, because when you come into like 1980s and things like that, you get slasher movies, which I'm very much into. Hammer was one of the first, and As they would say back then, you were bitten by the beast, you now bear his mark. That is something that sticks to the series when you're thinking about the Wolfman. So Benicio del Toro's character, known as Lawrence Talbot, he was bitten, and he bears the mark, so that means then he would be the one to transform into the Wolfman. With an angry inspector as well, set in kind of like an old-fashioned sort of society.
Hugo Weaving.
Hugo Weaving, indeed.
Yeah, the Red Skull. That's German.
As you would know him for that a lot more than this.
Or Elrond in Lord of the Rings.
So
yeah, my favourite.
That's his favourite franchise. So we might be drawing on that later on, maybe. I don't know. He's the one that's trying to hunt down Lawrence when he's in his wolf stage, because obviously I'm going to nick something from Harry Potter here. These are real animals, I didn't make them up, but they are made up there. These monsters, what I'm getting at is the legends, the way they were writ, is actually what they were. Anyway, so an animagus, which was a real legend, is something is someone who can transform into an animal by choice. So, yeah, so basically, Sirius Black, for instance. Then you've got, obviously, Lawrence at this stage, who is a werewolf. He doesn't have a choice, he will transform with a full moon. So, you have the inspector chasing him, and the legend is behind you can only kill a werewolf with a silver bullet. And that is his intent to do in this film. So, anyways, I've been talking for a while, let's see what Joe has to say. So he has seen this one.
I have seen, yes, I've seen The Wolfman, and I thought, personally, I thought it was average. I thought it was alright. It's entertaining enough. You know, if you like horror, if you like Hammer, you'll like it. There's some enjoyable performances. Anthony Hopkins is in it.
He's one of my favourite actors.
It didn't do well at the box office. That's one thing which I was going to talk to you about.
Yes, people have a very negative view when they hear the word remake. Just for a start, it puts a lot of people off. To be honest, the first time I heard about this, I wasn't like, to be honest, I'm not too interested. But I saw the other Wolfman films. I'm kind of like, well, I've been following the series. It would be wrong really not to see this one, because I'm criticising a film I haven't seen. So I watched it, and overall I thought this was okay. You can't really say too many remakes have impressed me, because that's not the case. They normally don't. But with this one, it just seemed to be very cleverly made in some areas. Not all, but some. Like, for instance, something I was getting at here, it's a 15, but it gained its 15 rating. It was going to be an 18, but it was the only reason it wasn't was because it had 0 punches throughout the film. You can, I know it sounds odd, but this is the truth. This is from an official website. Yeah?
0 punches.
So if you go back through the film, there will not be one punch thrown, but that's very clever. They don't add that, and they swap it in some ways for kind of like a bit of gore and a creepy sort of transformation scene. So it pays tribute to these films, and it also updates it so that more people in this sort of society will get drawn to the film, which is very clever.
Yeah, well, I personally found it was fine. You know, it's got some good performances. It's fine in terms of camera work, how it's shot. The story's a little bit all over the place, but I found it was watchable. You know. And it takes its time to build up. The finale is quite entertaining.
When you're
it's
looking
got Mary Poppins in it.
When you're looking at the film, you know that it's in a sort of like an older sort of society. I wouldn't know if you'd call it Victorian. I guess it could be.
Yeah,
so if it's in a sort of a Victorian sort of society, so it's more based off, because it's in that sort of era. Obviously they want you to focus on the fact that it was then as well. So as Joe said, they dragged it out a bit until it got to the bits you wanted to see, because just because it's in a different sort of era, you didn't really know what you were looking at back then, and it was trying to show you the relationship between the townspeople, and it just shows what sort of a society you're living in. So that way you get a bit more familiar with that area and what people are like towards each other, so that way you expect these sort of reactions you do get when obviously Lawrence and his father and all these things happening. Okay, so that is why the Wolfman is on this list.
Hard skull.
Shut up.
We need to think about the Presidia.
Yeah, succession. We need to, Oh, that's his...
Okay, so the next spot on this list is the death of Stalin, and I'm one of Joe's picks. So Joe, tell us why you featured this.
Right. This is out my picks. This is the one that I watched most recently. It's directed and written by Armando Iannucci, who you might know as the creator of Alan Partridge. If you're from elsewhere in the world, you would not know him as that. If you're from America, you'd know him as the creator of Veep. If you're from Britain, you'd know Alan Partridge, or you'd know The Bigger Bit, which is he does lots of satire, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Some would call him the king of satire because he is very good at it. This film is a satire. It explores the time after Stalin died in communist Russia, and as such, it has been banned in a number of countries, including Russia, because it takes quite a sort of whimsical look at a terrible time in history. Seriously, this time people were just being taken out of their homes, and it really emphasises that, but at the same time you get real black comedy out of it, and it's entertaining, and you don't really need to know about the history to fully get this film. You know, it's got a great cast: Steve Buscemi, Michael Palin from Monty Python, Simon Russell Beale, Jason Isaacs, Rupert Friend, Jeffrey Tambor, Andrea Riseborough. Everyone in this film is really going for it. There are some brilliant lines. It's not laugh out loud necessarily, and again, if you don't like satire, you won't like it. But it moves at a great pace. There's never a wasted line. You know, every line of dialogue serves a purpose. Either furthers the plot, or it's a laugh, or it's telling you something horrifyingly hilarious. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly that. So, from the looks of things, because actually I was talking with my family and Nat yesterday about these things, because obviously family have your back, so they want to know what you're doing. So we said that we're doing this video today, and I was just curious to see if my family knew, Joe, your picks. So I let them know, and guess what their reaction to this one was?
What was it?
Oh my god, really? I got that, and I was just kind of like, oh wow. So this is genuinely a dark film by the sounds of things.
Well, it's darkly comic, is what I'd say. You know, you're not going to get a film about a really controversial time in history, the time of communism in Russia, where it was really at full force and it was really horrifying. But at the same time, it's not disrespectful. I'd say it's pretty historically accurate in terms of how it all pans out. You will be entertained by this film. It's dialogue heavy. Most of my films are dialogue heavy, but at the same time, it's not dialogue heavy in the same way as Birdman. You know, it's not a dramatic film. It is meant to be a black comedy. You know, there's this brilliant scene at the start where they're at this concert, and it's got what's his face's character, Paddy Considine or something, and Stalin, he phones up and he wants a recording of the concert, and they're like, did we record the concert? And he's like, no. And then they say, call me back in 17 minutes. And then they're like, how long ago did he say call me back for? And you know, it's all this thing, you're desperately trying to appease Stalin, and then they have to get all the audience back into the room, and he's like, do not defy me, sit back down. It just got me. But you don't have to know anything about this time in history. You just sit down, you enjoy it. Try not to think too much about it. That's all I've got to say. Do you have anything to add, Ben?
I'm afraid I don't, because looking up these films, I aimed for 3 points, and I fell asleep yesterday on my phone. So basically,
don't take that as a comment on my films.
No, these films are good, that's why they're on the list. But what I'm basically saying is, kind of woke up, and obviously with things you've got to do in the mornings, I don't have time to input on this, but I don't think I needed to there, because I think Joe's given you an in-depth insight and has explained to you why we've put the death of Stalin on this list. Okay, so next film on this list, I actually have a disc box for here, so you've got a treat. Lake Placid. Okay, so this one is, in short, it's a funnish sort of horror film, and it's these giant crocodiles that grow to massive sizes, which nowadays, surprisingly, isn't too odd, because you get these record-breaking crocodiles now, but in the film, these ones are similar to the prehistoric creature Sarcosuchus, yes, which is the massive crocodile that used to dwell around dinosaur eras, and it was doing a number. It's, imagine Friday the 13th, except with these crocodiles. So, actually, drawn on Friday the 13th, we've got a fact here which relates to the film. Lake Placid was directed by Steve Miner, and here's a fun fact for all you horror fans out there, I know I'm one. He also directed Friday the 13th Part 2 and 3. So he's no stranger when it comes to working on these sets. Also another fun fact, and I was really happy to hear this actually. Similar to the Jurassic Park franchise, they used a perfect blend of practical effects as well as CGI, even if it was trash. But the blend of CGI and practical effects, it works for this film because it makes the crocodiles appear a bit more believable, really. I mean, if you call a giant crocodile biting onto the leg of a helicopter and stopping it from taking off as believable, but still, just generally, it makes the scenario a little bit more easy to see yourself in, because I know some people like to, we'll watch a film and they say, what would it be like if I was there, and things like that. So, similar to Jurassic Park, they did have practical effects, because there was, I think they had about 5 animatronic crocodiles they used for this film, of the size that they did, kind of similar to Jurassic Park. CGI could have been worked on a bit more, but when you come to think of all the other aspects of this film, I guess you're willing to overlook the CGI in areas. It also features some very big personalities in the horror community, anyways. So, I'll only give one example, because you only need one really. But the definitive, the one and only Freddy Krueger, Robert Englund, features in Lake Placid, the final chapter, and to be honest, he plays the role everyone would expect him to. Robert likes the roles of being a bit mysterious, a bit, scary in areas, and just as a general person you wouldn't want to meet. That's the sort of roles he likes playing. That's why everyone knows him for Freddy Krueger. So, generally in Lake Placid, he plays a poacher, but they don't know he's a poacher for a long time. Everyone thought he was a wildlife ranger, and it turns out that he's there to bag himself a crocodile. So, that's the sort of areas. What would you like to draw up on this, Joe?
Well, just onto the CGI, which you discussed. I mean, the first one was made in 1999.
Yes.
Yeah. So obviously it's not going to be perfect, because at the end of the day, the budget's not going to be insane. But I think in that first movie was Bill Pullman.
Yeah.
And Brendan Gleeson was Mad Dog's movie and Harry Potter. But apparently as well, the sequels, which you'd think, the CGI isn't good. This was made in 2012. You know what I mean? But apparently they were direct to video, direct to TV. So, I guess it can kind of be excused, because TV budget doesn't necessarily match Hollywood film budget. That's starting to change, isn't it?
Because if you generally, when you take into account when you're doing CGI work, you also have to think about the sort of scenarios that you'll be putting whatever you're creating into. So, with crocodiles, you've got to consider the behaviour as well. You want it to make it as believable as possible. You don't want just a crocodile running like Godzilla did in the new trailer. So, to be honest, so what they have to do is consider the behaviour. So crocodiles are slow, sudden bursts of speed, things like that. So they have to build it around that. And obviously, I'll be completely honest, they have some good people in these films, great casting. But ultimately, you don't need as many if you were to spend some more money on CGI as well. So, overall looking at it, the only thing that you'd say would put it down a bit, the only reason Lake Placid isn't a bit higher up on this list was because CGI work needs a bit more, but it still retains a solid spot on this list, and that's where we have placed the Lake Placid franchise.
You under arrest for the murder of Madame Celine Villeneuve de Goffin Taxis.
I knew there was something fishy. We never got the cause of death. She's been murdered. And you think I did it.
Hey!
Okay, so next on this list is the Grand Budapest Hotel. So once again, let's let Joe start.
Okay, so this is a Wes Anderson film. I think that should say it all. He also wrote the screenplay, so you can be sure it's going to be quirky and just eccentric. And it is, you know, it's just an eccentric film. It's eccentrically directed, written, the dialogue, the story, the framing, the miniatures, the CGI, you know, everything screams Wes Anderson. And I quite like it when you've got a very personal sort of film. Personal directed, because that almost gives you that sort of togetherness in what you're watching.
Yeah.
So it's got an ensemble cast with some tremendous actors. Ray Fiennes, Tony Revolori, I probably got his name wrong, but he was in Spider-Man Homecoming, I think. Yeah. Adrian Brody, not method acting unfortunately this time around. Willem Dafoe, Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum, what a legend. I'm sorry, Ian Malcolm.
Saoirse Ronan, and others. Edward Norton's in this as well. Why is Edward Norton two of my picks? I don't know. Edward Norton, to me, he just plays the same character.
You don't like a bit of Ed Norton, I'm sorry.
You know, what can you do?
Okay, no, sorry.
Interject, you can interject.
This will be a common thing going on.
Preparedness.
I don't have much, but I do have something. So there was a 2016 BBC poll on this, where critics actually voted the film the 21st greatest since 2000. So it shows that it's still working for the just for society, for people, like different audiences. It still works. It still goes. The film also won the Golden Globe Award for the Best Motion Picture, musical or comedy, and I can't read my notes. It won the
trivia.
It won the Academy Awards for the Best Costume Design, Best Makeup and Hairstyling, Best Production Design, and Best Original Score.
Well, I think I can agree with all of those, because this film, if for nothing else, you need to watch it just for an outstanding aesthetic, because there's so much symmetry, the colours are amazing, costumes, the score, it's all brilliant. It's just such a just the way it's been put together is just a testament to the effort put in, and just such an intricately made piece of cinema, you know. Just to look at it alone is amazing, and I think that's a testament to Wes Anderson, just being Wes Anderson. The miniatures, it's all great. It's the framing is amazing. You know, it'll often be framed in these big wides.
Yeah.
So you're looking out upon the room, and this is great for those comic scenes. And there's one where the police, because this is about a hotel, which you'd expect. It's not about an island of dogs like Wes Anderson's most recent film. It's about this hotel, and the police come over and they go to arrest the concierge played by Ralph Fiennes, and he just snags it. so
when
so
doubt, leg it.
Yeah, the acting is brilliant. I think Ralph Fiennes probably steals this film. This is probably Ralph Fiennes' best performance.
I would have said
and I like Ralph Fiennes as Voldemort, but this, I think he must have been really. I don't know if he or Michael Keaton won Best Actor, but I think someone else might have won it. But
so Ralph Fiennes would be a main
those
focus.
two should have.
He'd be a main focus.
Yeah, he's the main character in this film. Tony Revolori's sort of lobby boy character. Some great lines. It looks brilliant. I'd recommend watching it. It's got some surprisingly tense scenes.
Yeah.
The comedy might not work for everyone. It's quite it shifts aspect ratios quite frequently, and because this almost old-fashioned type vibe. You know what I mean? It's almost nostalgia to films from a different time. But I personally really enjoyed it, and you know, it's not going to be for everyone. Again, I don't think any of my picks are for everyone. Because they're not mainstream. You know, and I could say Avengers: Infinity War. You'll love it. You know, if you like whatever film, you'll probably enjoy it. But for this, it is very much a critic's taste type film.
So it's, I mean, the idea of this video generally was, these films you might not necessarily have heard of, so for you to go away and watch them, knowing that, you know, it's not like mainstream, it, in some ways, it seems a bit more successful to you in other ways, because if it's a film not massively out there, but you've seen it, and you really like it, and you think it's really impressive, that's more of a result for the people that made it, because it shows really that despite the fact it's not out there, not everyone's watching it, the people that do get it, that think it's really good, that shows a lot of commitment.
Yeah, this is probably the most watched film at this point, judging by box office receipts, you know. But I personally really enjoy it. From a storytelling perspective, it moves at a great rate. There's crime comedy, there's escape scenes, you know. I'm not going to spoil the plot because it's just so out there, so intricate, you know, little details here. Wes Anderson, he must have some kind of obsessive compulsive disorder about symmetry and making sure that there's no plot holes, and this painting was stolen at exactly this time by this person and such, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think if you're looking for something which will excite, probably not as much as a superhero film or an action film, but about as exciting as a comedy drama thing can be, it can't really be defined, this film. I was writing my review for it on my website. Just a shout out there.
I will put the link in the comments.
Put the link in the comments because people need to know. YouTube need to come over to the light side. But I couldn't really define it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that's a good thing or if it's a bad thing.
I guess it could be both.
Wow. I think there's dramatic moments, there's comedic moments. It's a bit like Buster Scruggs.
Yeah.
Because you don't really know exactly what that is. You could say it's a western, but saying something is a western is just saying it's that. But it's so many more things. You know, it's dark and compelling and sad. And it's got so many layers to it, and as does this film. And it's all told in flashback as well. So, as much as you care about it all, you know that something's going to happen at least. So, there you go.
Okay, so I couldn't have really said anything else on that. That's why the Grand Budapest Hotel features on this list.
Yo, Granny. Looky dippy Geritol. It's time to dance!
Okay, so next on this list is a favourite of mine. It's not a film as speaking, it's based off of a series of films. There's the TV version of Evil Dead, Ash vs Evil Dead. Now, okay, let me draw on this one. I really do like this series because it seems to be the only successful as a comedy horror, so the fact that you blend them two together, like they're complete opposites when you think about it. And you put them two together, you don't really know what you're going to get from it. But this one was surprisingly really successful. It was well received by fans, the fan base, and the media, which the media's never normally looks over these sort of things, especially critics. They don't normally like horror stuff. But I think you'll all be surprised to hear, I certainly was. Generally over all 3 seasons, it gained a 100% critic score, and considering it's a horror sort of thing, very surprising, and overall 98% audience score. I was on Rotten Tomatoes as well, so this is a very, very surprising fact for me on that. I mean, if I was rating it, I'd probably give it that, but that's me. So looking at it generally over loads of people, I was really surprised it got that. Once again, it includes the Evil Dead star Bruce Campbell as Ash Williams, and this actually was really handy that he came back because obviously it's considered that with an Evil Dead film you have to have Bruce Campbell because he was the first person picked to be Ash Williams, and he's ultimately going to be the last because people liked him, he fits as that sort of role, and the fan base were really upset after the 2010 version of Evil Dead was made because Ash Williams, nowhere to be seen, nowhere to be referenced. It was very, very weird because the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead, was still there. You're reading from it, the demons were still there. That film actually broke a record for using the most fake blood. There was like trucks full when they were using it. I mean, that goes way over the top, to be honest.
Is it trucking units of blood?
No, I mean, but literally, that you saw pictures, and there was these diesel trucks, and that was all fake blood, which was strange. But 2010's Evil Dead remake upset everyone because Bruce Campbell, or his character Ash for that matter, nowhere to be seen, and that really did surprise me as well. To be fair, I was kind of like, I feel like they thought that it was the end of the road for him after Army of Darkness, because Army of Darkness Evil Dead 3, it was received fairly well, but comparison to the others, it didn't do that well. I mean, fans liked it. It wasn't completely bad in the fan base, but it didn't do well when you look at the first two Evil Deads. So he, just generally summing it up, he actually can do time travel in these things as well, and he accidentally, using the Book of the Dead, brings him to the medieval ages, and he fights these demons in the medieval ages, which is obviously he's planning to change history. But that's going over it briefly. But Army of Darkness, I think that's what made the directors feel like maybe his time is up and go somewhere different. So they did Evil Dead without Ash, and then they clearly saw how they couldn't do that. They could not do that anymore. They had to test it. They tested it. It didn't work. So they brought him back. And, well, yeah. So anyway, Joe.
Right. Well, yeah. It's cult TV, which is probably why it's got such a high Rotten Tomatoes score. You know.
Yeah.
Cult TV does well. TV with satisfied standards does well with critic outcomes. You know. So we got the cast: Bruce Campbell, Ray Santiago, Dana Di Lorenzo, Lucy Lawless. It was developed by Raimi brothers, Sam Raimi, Yvonne Raimi, and Sam Raimi obviously did the Spider-Man trilogy, which to this day still holds up perfectly. Maybe it does. Dance montage, maybe.
He's become a
bit of an old.
I'm sorry, but he's become an internet meme now. You look at all of the jokes you see on these comedy pages, and it's all him going, "I need that money."
No, I've got in my notes. Claim I've only seen the first episode, which was directed by Sam Raimi, and I've also got down my notes that it was recently cancelled.
Yeah, season 3, unexpectedly, was the last thing you ever saw of Ash vs. Evil Dead, and it wasn't because it was failing. It wasn't because season 3 was stronger than ever, really, when it comes to look at it, because the fans really loved this since season 1. So they stuck with it, and their intent actually was to continue it as long as they could. And Bruce Campbell, actually, in an interview, similar to something Robert Englund said before, and they actually went up to him and they asked him, how long would you like to continue being Ash Williams, right? Because obviously, if you look at the first Evil Dead, and then you look at Ash vs. Evil Dead, he is significantly aged. So,
just as all humans do.
Yeah, all that.
You know.
So when you look at it, it's basically saying, yeah. So how long are you going to do this for? And he says he never wants to stop. The fans give him so much respect for his role, and he loves it generally. He loves the fact that people enjoy the series, and that's what makes him want to continue. And I still haven't found out why they cancelled after season 3.
Well, I also have some experience of having a favourite show of mine cancelled after series 3. But do not speak to me of Daredevil. And then they're gonna do the same with Punisher. They're gonna do the same with Punisher, Luke, and Jessica Jones.
Right, I experienced hardship. Now you must feel the same.
Yeah, it's just like you just get Netflix. You managed to get through Daredevil. Looking forward to season 4. Cancelled. Couldn't believe it. And I assume it was a similar thing with Ash.
Yeah, it
sounds like an entertaining show.
It is. It keeps you in, and to be honest, and when you I'm watching them going through. I used to have an old streaming service. You probably never heard of it because it's not like Netflix and whatever. I couldn't afford it at the time, so I just paid a cheap subscription, and I started watching them. And I really liked them. I got the first 2 seasons on DVD. Actually, the only season I had was season 1 on DVD for a long time. This was actually a Christmas present. But rewatching those, it's good, and I just thought, I really enjoy this, so I'm going to keep going with it. And then I go to the streaming service, go to click on episode 4, and it tells me they no longer air. And I'm like, what's going on here? Now, something I found out, the only episodes of the season 3 to air were episodes 1, 2, and 3. Ultimately, there are more episodes in the season. Season 3 is a complete season, like the rest of them, from 10 to 12 episodes. But they only appear on DVD, Blu-ray. You can only watch them on a disc form copy or digital. You can only see it that way. You can't get them on air. They will not air again. So don't know why.
Okay, so here's the big message. If anyone in the comments has a copy of Ash vs. the Evil Dead Season 3, they can give it to Luke.
Give it to
him. And there you go.
You'll be my best
This
friend.
is a plea. This is a charity case. Here we go. Yes.
Okay,
and also sign a petition to get Daredevil back on air. That's the key message of this entire video.
Yeah, that's what we were going for.
Also, subscribe to the channel. That's another.
Yes, thank you very much.
There's nothing wrong with boosting your own channel.
Okay, so that is why Ash vs. Evil Dead is on this list.
Here we go. We're doing it.
And you also want to hear something, Joe? That's going in. This is own fault. Okay, so coming in at number 2, we've almost finished this. Coming in at number 2 is What We Do in the Shadows.
Alright.
So I'll let.
So more and more people are watching this film. It's becoming less of a sort of cult phenomenon and more of a sort of more people are watching because Taika Waititi is now broken into the mainstream after he directed and starred in Thor Ragnarok, and Slash did lots of script work. Basically took a mundane script and made it improvisational in tone and subject. So yeah, it's Taika Waititi with Jermaine Clement. They write, direct, and they star in the film, and it's brilliant. I really enjoy this film. It's hysterical. It's mockumentary style, like The Office or Parks and Rec. Is that? I don't know. I haven't seen it. It's a terrible truth, but yeah, it's mockumentary style. It's about vampires flatting in New Zealand, which is a pretty outlandish premise.
Yeah, I would say so.
So there's lots they can milk in terms of comic material. It is very deadpan, is what I'd say. By deadpan I mean they're quite kind of blunt in their delivery. They all do accents. You know, we are from Transylvania. Well, they're not. They're from New Zealand.
Blah blah blah.
But yeah, it's just such a great fun, this film. There's some great lines, some great scenes. I'd just check it out if you want to. For an hour and a half, it's probably I can't remember.
As a typical film
length. But for an hour and a half, just sit back, relax, and watch Taika Waititi.
Why is this table moving?
Bite into people's necks and Royce Darby trick someone into eating worms.
Oh,
there's just this brilliant line.
Oh, right.
It's like, please, someone try some bruschetta. And then they tried them.
Hotel Transylvania.
I did not know you liked eating worms.
This sounds like we're promoting Hotel Transylvania.
No, we're not. But you know, Adam Sandler, critically acclaimed actor.
Yeah.
You know, I know people who like Adam Sandler movies. Do you like Adam Sandler movies?
It differs. Some I do, some I don't.
I think after Pixels, it all just sort of came into place, and I kind of just went.
We do not endorse you screaming into your hands on this channel, okay? It will upset a lot of your family.
I know, it's very upsetting. I'm going to clean my glasses because now I've steamed them up. sweaty palms. That was meant to be into a wall, but
And
I
that
haven't got very much leeway to move.
That was
around
also
it,
an
I'm afraid.
impression of Juliet. in our
Romeo-
English film.
Yeah, in English we're doing Romeo and
Right,
Juliet.
Romeo drank a vial of that poison, as you know in the story, fell onto Juliet's bed, well it used to be, where she was dead, although that was meant to be the plan. Friar's letter didn't get to him, so he killed himself, despite the fact she was physically touching his hand, and she even opened her eyes looking at him, and he still drank the vial, but he laid there, and then she was like, oh no, he's dead. I put her hands on him, and then she sounded like a dying llama, and I'll be honest, she looked like the opposite direction to the camera and went, "Ah."
To be honest, I've seen worse thumbs than that.
That was garbage.
It was pretty bad, but I've seen worse thumbs. Transformers The Last Night.
Everyone, we have our final pick, Hatchet, which takes spot number 1. Right, so to get to number 1, it has to have done a lot, and safe to say I think it has. Okay, so just starting off, this is just a general overlook. I typed some stuff. This is just my overlook. This is my opinion, really. So Hatchet, I think, is a great deal of enjoyable horror fun. It brings back the 80s-esque slasher throwback, to be fair, sort of thing. It's obviously in vein of Friday the 13th. You can tell with the sort of linkage between the two that Hatchet is very much the mirror image of Friday the 13th. Yes, which is probably why people like it. It doesn't try to be too much. It doesn't take itself seriously, because certain bits are a bit silly in that, and they wouldn't include them if they did take themselves seriously. It will provide occasional jump scares, which is what we actually look for in these, because Friday the 13th was great for those, but then as it went on, it kind of had less and less, and that's what we missed. So Hatchet brought it back, just the odd occasional jump scare, just to keep you on your toes. Surprisingly, it actually gives you a serial killer of threat. So in these films, normally you've got very poor acting to try and make the killers look a little more dramatic. So
falling over at every given opportunity.
Yeah, Scream is one for that, right? Scream is a normal person in the costume. Most of the scary sort of horror icons are supernatural. Freddy Krueger is a dream demon. Jason Voorhees is immortal. Michael Myers immortal. This is what makes them scary. While Scream is just a serial killer, a normal one. The only thing that makes him creepy is that he's got intelligence. So the fact that all the actors, because this one isn't much of an intimidating threat, because equally used to have him, he will die very quickly, like a normal person in a horror film. So that's why all the actors were falling around all over the place. Oh my god, are you going to kill me? But that's why we like Hatchet, because it actually gave us Victor Crowley, and Victor Crowley was actually a serial killer that actually provides threat, and we don't have that at all very often. Looking at the series in general, I enjoyed them all. Hatchet 3, a little less so than the others, but doesn't mean it's bad, because that one was still good. Maybe not too keen on the end, I'll be honest, of Hatchet 3. The rest of them seem to be good. This is the only horror series to feature numerous, and by numerous I mean quite a few, horror icons, like mainstream horror icons in one series. So Robert Englund, he's, or as we know as Freddy Krueger, he's referenced a lot after his brief cameo in Hatchet. So he does have a brief cameo, but his character is drawn back to quite a lot in other dialogue, so he never leaves, truly. He actually plays the role, well he did, for about 5 minutes, Mary Beth's father, which is Mary Beth is the vengeful daughter who attempts throughout the series to kill Victor Crowley out of a revenge for the loss of her brother and father. And that's basically, every serial killer has a nemesis. That's how we're seeing it, that's what we like about these films. Jason Voorhees was Tommy Jarvis as Joe Knows. Michael Myers is Laurie Strode. Freddy Krueger is Nancy. You know, they all have their nemesis. And Mary Beth is certainly Victor's. So Tony Todd, who plays the Candyman, he appears as a main focus in the first two films. I mean, the first one you don't see him so much, but he's referenced a lot like Robert Englund. The second one, he's in it a lot, and he's a main focus. He plays the mysterious Reverend Zombie who owns this voodoo shop, and he actually turns out to know a lot more about Victor Crowley than anyone else. And that isn't revealed until the end of Action 2. And the last one, who it has the most screen time, and it's clear to see why, Kane Hodder, who are definitive Jason Voorhees, who's actually been in the most Friday films as Jason Voorhees. He plays Victor Crowley and his father, so when you get flashbacks of people talking about Victor's past, like it was with Jason, he will play his father. But throughout the film, when he's not in the flashbacks, he is Victor himself. Under all of that latex, under all